Hey guys, welcome to QS Drive. Today I'm gonna show you how to integrate Google Sign-In in your mobile application. I have already created a project in GitHub, and you can take the project from there. Um, the project is here. I'm gonna mention this link in the description so that you can just like clone this project and run the demo if you want to. So let me just show you how I have integrated Google Sign-In my mobile app, and then you can do it same way, or you can just tweak the way your application is set up. So let me just show you. Okay, so I'm gonna click on this sign in with Google button, and then it will list down all the Google accounts which are associated with your Google Chrome or the virtual device. All the Google accounts are set up with your virtual device. Okay, so for me, my QS Drive account is set up on my virtual device. So I'm gonna click on it, and it will take me back to the application, and it will show it will pull up the information from Google. It will pull up the ID that you can see here, and the first name, last name, and email address. So how did I do this? So the first step, or I would say the trickiest step that you need to do, is you need to set up your Google API console. If you have not set up your Google API console properly, this GitHub project is not gonna work, and you cannot really copy the Google API console settings from anywhere. So that's the reason why I'm making this video. So people who are stuck at some step on Google API console, or the settings that they have not done properly, they might not be able to use this feature. So okay, so let's just go and jump to Google Developer Console. And people who already are using Google API services, they know how this dashboard looks like. But people who are new and they're trying to integrate Google Sign-In, or trying to use other API services, these screen must not be familiar with them. So this is the Google API dashboard, where you enable and disable services which Google gives. If you do not have any project created for your Google APIs, then the message will say that you need to create a project. I'm going to show from the beginning, so I'm gonna create a project, and then I will create the credentials for the project, and then I will enable Google Plus API, and I will use the client IDs in the GitHub project that I've created, and show you how you can integrate in your mobile application too. So to create a new project, let's go to this drop down button, and then you can see a new project button here on the right top corner of this pop-up. I'm gonna click on this, and I'm gonna name my Google project as QS Drive demo project, and then I'm gonna click on create, and it will create the demo project. It takes a minute for creating demo project. Okay, sweet. So by default, it's showing me my main project. I'm gonna go to this QS Drive demo project which I've just created. Okay, so if you have just created a project, then the console will say that okay, you have created the project, but you're not using any APIs, so you should go ahead and use some APIs for this project. We are integrating Google Sign-In in our mobile application. That's our goal. So to what the API that we're gonna need to use is Google Plus API. So I'm gonna look for Google Plus API in the library. Go here, and you can either try this API. There is another explorer that you can use, or enable this API. I'm gonna enable this API, and then it will take me to the dashboard of the API which we are trying to use in our project. Cool. So it will show me the dashboard of the Google Plus API that we're using. If I click on this Google APIs on top, it will list down all the APIs that I'm using in my project. And when I click on this API, then it'll show me the dashboard of the API, how much I'm using this API and how much I'm getting billed for this API, if it's billable API. So if you've just enabled this API, then the console will show that to use this API, you may need to create credentials, and you can create credentials by clicking on this Create Credentials button. But before doing that, let's just go ahead and set this OAuth consent screen. This is because the reason why I'm doing this before creating credentials is because when I create credentials, it'll pop up saying that, oh, you need to save a OAuth consent screen before you create credentials. So let's just go ahead and set up this screen first, and then we'll go ahead and create credentials. On the screen, the console will ask you, okay, what's your application name and what's your logo name? How does your logo look like? So I'm gonna name my app as Keywords Drive demo app, and I'm gonna select the Keywords Drive logo for my OAuth consent screen. If you scroll down below, it'll ask you like, okay, what kind of scopes you want to use for this APIs, for this Google API. Scope is basically what kind of information that you're trying to pull from Google for a particular user. By default, Google API gives you email address, profile, and any person's ID. But you can add scope. If you want to pull more information from Google for a particular person, you can add more scope. But to do that, you need to verify your business. You need to mention, okay, what's your domain name, what's your home page application, privacy settings, and terms of service length. You have to mention all of that and then submit for verification. Google takes a couple of days and then sees, okay, if it's a legit website and they do need this information, then they will give you permission to pull that information for a particular user. But we're not gonna need that. We're gonna just gonna pull the email address, profile, and OpenID. So let's just go ahead and save the screen. Cool. Now that OAuth consent screen is saved, what Google is saying that, okay, you need to create credentials for using your application. So let's just go ahead and create credentials for our project, for our API. And when I try to create credentials, it'll list down all kinds of credentials that you can create. The first one is the API key. API key is basically it will pull how much API you're using and what kind of access it has. We're not gonna use that. We're gonna use this OAuth client ID. It requests user consent, so your app can access users' data. So let's just click on this OAuth client ID, and then it will ask you what kind of application you're using, or what kind of application you're building from which you're pulling information from Google. And we're building an Android app, so we're gonna select Android. And I'm gonna name my app OAuth native app. So that's the name of my application. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, this is the tricky part now. Here, what Google Console is asking me to do is to mention the SAH1 fingerprint that I've used. Fingerprint that I've used to sign my APK file. So I have already made a video for which explains how you can create APK file, and you have to archive your project, and then you have to create a keystore file, and then you have to sign your APK file. So what it's asking us right now is we need that fingerprint, we need that certificate, so that Google feels secure. Google feels that, okay, you have signed your application, your APK, your application is secure, and it's okay for you to pull Google's information from it. So how do we get this fingerprint? To get this fingerprint, we have to use this tool which says keytool, and this keytool is located in Java runtime folder. I'm gonna mention this commands in the video description, so you don't have to pause the video and start writing down. And for different people, it depends on where they have installed their runtime. This will be different. For me, it is at this location, so I'm gonna go to this location. I'm already there, so let me just go back so I can show you. So I'm gonna go to this location where the keystore file keytool is, and you can see that the keytool file is there. Keytool application is there. So okay, so we are in the location now. We have to get the fingerprint. I'm gonna copy this command and I'm gonna paste it here. I'm gonna copy this and paste it here. Cool. So now that and I'll hit enter. When I hit enter, it will ask me the password that I've used while signing the APK. So see, whenever you create a keystore file, never forget the password or never lose the keystore file. So I'm gonna put the password here. Once I successfully put the password, it will show me the fingerprints, the certificate that it's wrapped, the APK file is wrapped into. And this is what Google wants. I'm gonna, this SH1 fingerprint, I'm gonna copy that and put it here. And the third thing which console wants is the package name. Package name, you can get it from the project properties, and it'll be in the Android manifest file. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here, and then I can click on create. When I try to create, it's saying that, okay, you already are using your mobile application for pulling information, and this is a duplicate fingerprint. That's the reason, because I'm using the same credentials, different credentials to pull information from same applications. You will get this error if you're trying to use it for multiple credentials. So let's just go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that real quick and then show you. Let's just go to console. I hope that's the link. I'm gonna go ahead on the console here, select my old project, go to credentials and delete this credential. Cool, the credential is deleted. And now I'll try to create this credential because it was throwing me error. Sweet, so the credential is created now and it's giving us the client ID to use. I'm going to click on OK here, and now you've created the project, you have enabled APIs, you have created the credentials. Google Console gave you a client ID to use for pulling information from Google, and we are going to replace this client ID in our GitHub project to pull information. So let's just copy this part of the client ID, and there are 3 places in our application where we have to change the client ID. The first place is the custom URL, which is in the Android project, this class, and I'm gonna paste my client ID here, the new client ID that I've created. And then the other place is the Google Android client ID in the constants file, which is here in the core project, and I'm gonna change that. And the third place is the Google Android redirect URL. Here I'm going to change this client ID here. Sweet. So all the client IDs have been changed in the project. Let's just go ahead and run the application and see if it works or not. Cool. It's listing down sign in with Google and Facebook. I'm going to talk about how you can integrate Facebook in your mobile application in the next video, but let's just talk about Google right now. Let's click on sign in with Google, and it will list down all the Google accounts that you have configured on your virtual device. I'm going to click on Curious Drive, and it's going to jump back to the mobile application and jump to the page where it shows the ID and the first name, last name, and the email address of the person who is trying to log in into your application. So that's how you pull any person's information in your mobile app. Now the demo is successful. Let me show you what I've done in this project. I'll explain you some of the code, and then I'll just stop the recording. So the main page in this project is this OAuth native flow page, and here I'm calling this function on Google login click when I click on sign in with Google, and it creates OAuth 2 authenticator, and it will get the scopes, Google scope, where I'm pulling the email and the profile. And then once it pulls it uses authorized URL and access token URL, and gets the information from gets the token from Google, and we use that token for pulling more information. Once the application authenticates the user, then it jumps back on this on auth completed function, and we get more information from Google using this URL. And in this user info URL, you can see that we are using this URL for pulling more information. Yeah, and then we get JSON response, and I'm converting into a local variable and adding its ID, first name, last name, display name, email address, and picture into the properties, and I'm showing the same properties on the new page. So yeah, that's how you integrate Google sign in your mobile application. Let me know in your comments. Give it a go, and let me know. Hopefully this video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Bye.